Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gimme 5 Book Reviews and Author Interviews, where we introduce readers to incredible authors and explore the imagination, inspiration, and stories behind their books. Today, I'm excited to welcome back a returning guest, author Verna McKinnon. Verna joined me April of 2025 for a fantastic conversation about the first two books in her fantasy series, The Rogue Bardess, including The Bardess of Rhulon and The War Poet. We had the opportunity to dive into her creative world, her characters, and the journey of building a fantasy series filled with adventure, music, courage, and the unforgettable storytelling. Now, Verna is back to celebrate the next chapter in the series with the release of Dragon Keepers, Book 3 of the Rogue Bardess series. Congratulations, Verna! Yay! The newest installment, readers continue the journey into a world of magic, danger, friendship, and destiny as the story expands with new challenges and deeper discoveries. Verna's writing blends fantasy adventure with themes of identity, resilience, loyalty, and the power of finding your own voice. Today, we'll catch up with Verna about her journey since our last interview, the inspiration behind the Dragon Keepers, and what it's like expanding a fantasy universe and what readers can expect from the next Rogue Bardess series. So let's welcome Verna to the show. Come on. Verna, welcome back. It's wonderful to have you here again. Since our last conversation in April 2025, what's been happening in your writing world?
Oh, so much. I have my new novel, which is out, which is the third novel in the Rose Greenleaf Rogue Bardess trilogy, Dragon Keepers. And this is the cover. I love the cover. I love the cover. I took a couple of clips of it. And it's takes place about a year after Rose and Culain are married, and there's a lot that goes on. You know, they're happy, they're like, you know, no responsibilities, and then everything drops like a hammer. His father, King Grimkel, is dying. He's been poisoned.
Oh no.
And they have to go back and find out what's going on. And so there's them as spies and investigators, you know, they just dive right in, and Queen Fiona is still a rock, but you have the rest of the family. Rose has not experienced the rest of Culain's family. As you know, we've met, you know, Rose's family and a couple members of, but as I told you, 14 brothers and sisters, and they show up because father is dying, and so there's a lot of infighting, and then there's a lot of genuine concern, and there's a lot that's going on. So
wow, that's incredible. I'm excited to dive into it. So when we spoke last, we discussed the Bardess of Rhulon and the War Poet. For our new viewers discovering the series, how would you introduce the world of the Rogue Bardess?
I would introduce with the first book, the Bardess of Rhulon, because that is the first book of the trilogy. And then War Poet, because that takes up literally very shortly after the first book. And then the conclusion, where there's still lots more stuff to discover in Dragon Keepers. Because the dragons were a main theme. I mentioned it a lot of times, just sort of sprinkling it through, especially in the second book when they're at Bryndoran Keep. Well, the history of the dragons is not what people expect, and they discover that, much to their terror and also to their benefit. And they find out a lot of stuff, and that the founder of their kingdom and his queen, who is Queen Aurelia, had a secret that they kept, and that is revealed in the book.
Ooh, secrets. We love secrets sometimes. Yep. So looking back at the first two books, how has your journey changed as an author?
Well, just trying to find time to write. I'm still have ideas. In fact, I'm working on a new novel now. I was going to work on a couple other things I'd had on the back burner, but this other thing is, you know, when you create a story or think, and you have the title and okay, this is going to be about this, and the characters, they're great, but they didn't fit into the story. I was thinking of a different story. It was like it was just starting to form. So, and that's what I did. I put this other story, which I couldn't somehow put together, on the back burner into its folder, and I've created a new novel premise. So I have a new
Oh,
novel. The temporary title is The Red Cauldron, and it's a secondary world, has lots of witches, and it's magic, necromancers, and it's the key characters are divorced witches. Um, Jack and Nova are divorced. They've been divorced for 5 years, and there's a lot that there's been a civil war. Think of the Plantagenets and the War of the Roses. This is what's gone on this island in this strange world.
so two witches divorcing each other. They're casting these spells on each other.
No, they're not. They're just trying to go about their own business, but more stuff is coming up, and they get thrown into a dangerous situation where he gets accused of murder. There's this little girl that he found that was being chased by these terrible men in black armor, and he saves her, him and his Periton, whose name is Flint, a Periton, which I've used in another series of books, My Familiar's Tale. It's a different world, but I don't think they're used enough. You know, they're winged deer.
Oh.
And nobody uses them enough, so I'm going to use them. And they talk, they're magical, they're very powerful, great in battle. And so Jack is arrested for murder. He actually found the body, but so Nova has to come and help, and that's where everything else begins to unfold. There's a lot of stuff going on. The war isn't over the way they thought, and dark hand and some dark magic afoot. So that's where we're going.
Is that going to be book 4?
No, that's a whole new series. This is
a whole new series. Wow.
Yeah, on a different world. I've named the world. I have just everything is different. It's just I write in secondary worlds, like my Sabine Fable novel, The Bastard Sorceress, is not in the same world as the Rose Green Leaf world. There are secondary worlds, but they're different.
So did you always? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's different cultures, different histories, different magical scenarios, different magical creatures.
Amazing. So did you always envision that the Rogue Bardess becoming like a multiple book series? Because you have a lot of series. Did you envision it becoming a multiple?
Actually, I figured the Rogue Bardess of Rhulon would just be a one book thing, but my publisher, Tom Gandolfi at Tenstaffel Press, one of the many struggling independent publishers out there, the small presses that are struggling against the big guys, and we do our best, but we do quality work, and he loved it, and he really wanted a second novel, and that's when I came up with War Poet, and I got to really actually finish up a lot of stuff that was begun in the first book and open up new things, and then I was able to give good closure to Rose and Culain in The Dragon Keepers.
I wonder if you were like a little sad when you hit the end of that one.
A little bit, but I think it's like in any tale, you need to know when to put an end to it. It's like you can have some series both on book and TV that go on, or in movies that go on way too long, and you beat the characters to death, or things just aren't as fun as they used to be. You want to keep it where you have the viable story, like Tolkien did the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings. And yes, he did some background stuff later and some side books, but that was the main story after The Hobbit.
Right.
It's like a bad guy. You need to know when to kill the bad guy. And you need to know when to close a story.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that she's gone forever, but if I ever do bring her back, it's going to be something special that I've come up with.
Cool. That's so cool. So let's dive into The Dragon Keepers, shall we?
Okay.
So congratulations on the release of The Dragon Keepers. So what inspired this next chapter of this story? You kind of gave us a little bit of it without giving away spoilers. What can the readers expect when they open book 3?
They're going to expect a lot of adventure and a lot of mystery. There's going to be more things to do with the dragons that are unexpected, both when they appear and after. There are things about Culain and his lineage of the Ironhearts and the dragons that will be revealed. You have all the brothers and sisters of Culain that poor Rose is going to deal with. And the consequences, just because you get rid of one evil doesn't mean there's other evils left behind that can get you. And that's what happens in this. And then you have the family scenario, Wolfgar and stuff, but then all the other, his sisters and everything. And it's like, who's Rose? Who is this common girl? You know, and some people are like, oh, I'm so excited, you know. But the chief of that, Wolfgar, if you remember from the second book, War Poet, Wolfgar is a pain in the ass. That is my, he is like not a likable character, but he has a wife. And she is like the adversary for poor Rose, because Rose has got to deal, because she's like, I'm going to be the next queen. You are this, you're a common girl. How did you get, you know, just that whole aristocratic, I am the daughter of nobles. We go back generations, and that
like
type.
the Mean Girls.
No, think of the most haughty British style aristocrats, you know, just because she's not young. She's like in her 40s, maybe her late 30s. Just haughty, very sure of herself. And she, because of everything that's going on along with Rose, gets tossed into a situation that she wasn't expecting. And another thing I wanted to give readers is, like, I love it when you have a pair of people who come together and they mesh, like Rick and Evie from the Mummy movies. You know, you love them. It's like you watch it with the comfort of knowing they are always on each other's team, and they're always just supporting each other, and they're just in sync. And that's what I wanted for Rose and Kulain. I didn't want this all of a sudden, this trauma, oh, I hate you now, or I must leave you. No. Or creating drama, you know, it's like what they've done on TV shows. Okay, we're going to get this couple together, but then in the next season, we're going to break them up. You know, that thing. I hate that. So it has killed many a show for me, and many a book too. So I want to bring the assurance that what they're fighting against is a supernatural and their families. So they don't need to be bickering with each other. They are supporting each other. So I have a cat here who's trying to make sure she doesn't go through the screen. I have two Maine Coons that have the strength of panthers.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. She's on the outside or on the inside?
She's on the inside. Oh no, they don't go outside, but she will slip out if given the chance. That's Runa, and there's Luke. They're massive.
Your little home dragons.
Furry dragons. Well, she's my little shadow puff. She's she's much like a little black dragon, and the way she swiggles across the floor, and yeah.
And I love it. And thinking of dragons, so the title of the book immediately sparks curiosity. So what does the dragon keepers represent within the story?
The secret that's been kept 4,000 years.
Oh.
And there's something very special about the dragons. You think that they're gone in this world. They're not really, but there is something special. I don't want to give away too much. But there are things that involved lots of magic, and also the help of the Fae, and that Fae queen who was such a troublesome in the books. So the last book especially. So
yeah, don't give away the spoiler. No, don't be a spoiler.
I'm so terrible at that. But no, there's a lot. The Dragon Keepers is key. It's something ancient that had happened in Rhulon, and now it's been reenacted. Basically, the Dragon Keepers need to come back, and I can't tell you who they are because I don't want to spoil it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So I'm thinking mythology here. So how did the idea of dragons fit into the larger mythology of the world building of this series?
It was always a part of it. They were, I didn't want to do what other authors had done. I didn't want to step, like George R. R. Martin, his dragons were massive and they're fire breathing. Mine are more unique. They're more like the dragons in my Familiar's Tale series, where they were magical and they had different abilities depending on their colors and how they communicated. And they were there, but I didn't know if I was ever going to get to use it. I just had this knowledge. I'm the nerd who will figure out the history of everything and have it in a book Bible, basically. And it's a good thing I did, because it was needed when I did the third book, and it was already there. I just was able to tell it now.
Perfect. So
Over prepared.
I love your imagination. Your mind is a wonderful place to be. So I'm thinking, were there any new characters, creatures, or locations introduced in this book that you were especially excited to write?
Well, the other brothers and sisters of Culain, and of course, the dragons. And they go off on some different adventures, and there's different. The bad guy, I don't want to give away too much about the bad guy, about the chief evil of this, because that will be yeah, I just don't want to give away too much.
Okay, don't give away too much. So you can maybe give away this. What emotional journey do you hope readers experience while reading The Dragon Keepers?
Understanding that sometimes the truth of the history or a family is never what you expect, how to accept it, and how to accept yourself, your limitations, and to believe in yourself.
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely great message.
Yes. See, Rose in the last one, she is the amazing talent. She has the Rhapsody magic, which is so rare. But she had help. She had a lot of strong help with it, with Fallon, the Fae, and getting that great, that a type of epic galaxy kind of spell almost that restored the three worlds basically. But she needs to learn how to do things herself now, and she knows that she needs to learn how to compose magic with her music, and have faith in herself, and realize that the simple thing about her is that more than anything, she's a bard. And that's what Belenas Elcross helps her with. He helps her with a lot too. Like, he finds this old, and I don't want to go into it yet, but it's an old diary that he's furious that it ended up being lost in a old crate in the archives of the old library. He's furious. He's just enraged because it was about someone incredibly important in Rhulon's past.
Wow.
And so that's where they discover a lot of what to do.
I love it. And I love that Rose has to learn these things on her own, because truly that's something that we all must do in life. It's like, I've met so many codependent people who, well, what do you want to do? And, they always have somebody like guiding them around. But that independence of finding your true self and doing it yourself, the journey, that's so important and inspirational for so many readers out there. I mean, I'm inspired for sure.
Culain himself has quite a journey of his own he has to embark on. Something he did not expect, and he has to deal with on his own. And he does manage, but again, I don't want to give away too much.
Okay.
The dragons are key to everything, though.
Oh,
as are the changelings, or rather the chief bad change, Ashwing, the chief darkness in the book. And it's basically a darkness that it's insane. It's insane. He's insane.
Love it. You channeled him. So let's dive into the characters, the magic, and the storytelling. So one thing readers love about fantasy is getting lost in another world. How do you approach creating a world that feels believable?
Well, what I do is I have a whole compendium of everything. I have compendiums for each of my novels. Let me see. Basically, I have either a huge binder or like something like this where I have the world, I have the basics. It's like what I'm doing right now with this news story. I name the world, how many continents, what kind of wildlife. Oh, I got a interesting bit of advice years and years ago when I was reading about some other authors, and they were saying if you're doing secondary world fantasy where it's an Earth-like world, but it's not Earth, use about 70 to 80% of things that are known, like an oak tree, grass, a rose, but create different plants, create a little different magic, add some different animals, or how does the magic work? So it's that kind of detail, and creating the races and what kind of magic, and it's just all those details.
So like little baselines or people can be, like you said, the oak tree, we can identify with that, and it brings us into where we can relate to this new world, this fantasy world. So tell me then, Verna, what makes a great fantasy hero or heroine?
An interesting character, somebody who is flawed, a little flawed, someone who's brave, someone who is just interesting. They're different. They don't fit in. And now if you think about it, that's key with most heroes. They don't fit in. They either have an alternate identity that they hide under, like consider just in general Clark Kent, Superman, or they don't fit in. Rose didn't fit in at home in her rather conservative environment. You're expected to get married, have babies, bake pies. She didn't want any of that. She is married, and there's no children yet, but there was something I was going to put in the book, but there was just so much going on. I didn't want to complicate things. Is that there is a weed in her world that their witch friend, my brain just went, have you eaten something that you've read and then your brain just goes blank.
Yeah,
but anyway, it's a weed. You brew it as a tea. If you drink it every day, you don't get pregnant. It's just something very simple.
Wow.
And I don't want to complicate things because she and Colleen are happy right now. Will they have children? Won't they have children? Only time will tell. That's them.
So how do you balance action, adventure, character development, and the deeper messages within your stories? How do you balance all that?
I think I just go on raw instinct as I'm typing frantically on my keyboard with my tea and my cookies. It just happens. There's a certain method to my madness of writing where, the first chapters where you've got to get everything introduced and going, and then because by chapter 10, there needs to be devastating. There are little devastations along the way, but major devastation between chapters 9, 10, and 11. Just. And
the plot thickens.
And more important than plot, though, is character, because if you think about it, there's only so many original plots in the universe, like maybe 9. Look at how many movies and novels and are like King Arthur type stories.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We just kind of keep reinventing the plots, that's okay, So are there any
characters are important? Characters are the most important thing, and you have to love your character. I love my characters.
Absolutely. So are there any characters in the series that have surprised you as they developed, as the story developed?
Yes, because for example, Meg Sparrow. I wasn't intending on her originally to be a witch. That wasn't planned. It was just something that evolved during that drunken night right before Rose got attacked by a changeling, where they were talking about their histories, and her history just poured out, and it was like, without even editing, okay, this is her backstory, and this is what we're going to look into later on.
Oh, that's pretty cool. When you're channeling the characters, do you just kind of get into a zone where you are in their shoes for that moment and what you would do in that situation, or just imagine them and what they would do in that situation?
I just imagine them and what they would do next. I'm in my compendiums, my little book Bibles, and I'm such a nerd. Even if there's like a picture of someone or an actor, someone who I imagine as that character, I cut and paste that into their bio, into the character bios. I just go the whole spiel because it's complete world building. But world building is only as solid as the characters in the story.
Yeah, so absolutely. I do that too, when I'm traveling different places and I meet different people and they have their little nuances or their little quirks, and I will make a voice note on my phone, or I'll write it down and keep that little binder for characters for later. So tell me, Verna, do your characters ever take the story in directions you didn't originally plan?
No, they kind of went where I want. I mean, sometimes certain things come up and the character gets expanded, or you write them out, and it just flows. If something doesn't work, they're gone.
Ah, got it. No diverting off the track here. Why
No,
14? You said there's 14 siblings. How did 14 become?
This is part of my problem. I was not expecting to do a second novel to deal with his brothers and sisters, but it was when Culain was telling Rose about himself when she first comes to the palace, and he is under the cover of being an ambassador. He's actually hunting out evil, and he sees his potential because, remember, he sees her first in that tavern with Prince Darius. And even though he didn't admit it to himself, it was love at first sight for him. But his intentions were honorable. She's a bard. She can sing. This will probably upset my mother, but I don't care. And he brings her to the palace, and he's going to train her, and then train her to be a spy, because spies in the medieval times, they were very often minstrels, people placed in courts, and they were like the ones listening at the banquet. No, it was not uncommon. And that's where I got the idea to use her as a spy.
I like it. Were there any characters that became the comedy relief?
Oh, God, I'm trying to think about it, because sometimes there were just funny moments, I did not expect Crimson the Changeling sometimes with a very twisted kind of comedy relief. And just not expected. Just way it flowed.
I love it.
Once the characters are formed, they just flow the way they want to. I just know what I'm writing.
So cool. So you get into this zone, right? And you just kind of channel the characters, and it just starts flowing out. And how long do you find yourself writing? Just do you dedicate time, or you just, when you feel in that mode or in that zone, you just start writing?
Well, I have a regular job, so I have to write around that. And so generally, if I have time, like on a weekend, I usually like to start about 10 o'clock in the morning, but I stop at 2. Because if you try to go anything after that, it's just like editing bits or mucking about with things.
Mucking about. I love it. So many authors say every book teaches them something new. What did the Dragon Keepers teach you?
That I could do another trilogy and make it work. I just was not expecting to do a trilogy. But I said there's still stories to tell, and I had all this stuff on the dragons tucked away. So, okay, wait.
That's interesting.
My publisher likes me well enough, say, let's do another one.
So it's kind of like labor pains. You get through that trilogy, you're like, oh, I can breathe. Oh, on to the next trilogy.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
Writing is fun. It needs to be fun. And you learn things as you go. Like I've learned a new process now, which I'm trying with my new book here that I'm working on, which is, how certain things, along with coming up with the characters and stuff, I have come up with certain rules that I need to have, which is I need to have the title, even if I change it, and a blurb. And see, I've been working too hard. I can't think anymore. Title, blurb.
Characters.
No, there was something else.
So this.
Can I look this up? My brain I've been so busy working that my brain just title, blurb, and ending, how it ends.
Okay, there you go. So that's the new process that you're trying to instill.
Part of my key along that is that I must, before I start writing the book, along with having my characters in the world, the basics. And I did I did 2 blurbs, and blurbs, as any writer will attest, we hate doing blurbs. I will write a whole novel. I'm happy. Give me 200,000 word novel. I can do it. Coming up with a 200 or less words blurb is torture.
I can relate. It's like, even when I send emails, I have to add all these emojis because I'm like, are they going to really read all this? I can't just write 1 or 2 sentences or a short paragraph. It turns into an essay, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I can relate.
Yeah. So
I know well, absolutely. It's hard. You can, like you said, you can go and write that 200,000 words, but 200 words, forget about it.
Yeah, it's structured. But when you read sometimes some of the blurbs and stuff, and like on the back of other novels, and they're so brilliant, and it's like, because you want to create something that will make the reader want to pick up your book.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So where do you find the inspiration when creating new stories?
Sometimes things just happen. It's I can be like thinking about something, or looking in a bit of history, or looking into some mythology. Like that's where I found the Peritons, and I've used them in some of my stories. Just there's a spark, and once the spark happens, there you go. And it's sometimes there's just a drive, like with Rose Greenleaf. My initial perspective was, I want to do a story about a female dwarven hero. She didn't become a bard till I started writing her, and then it just flowed.
Yes, I love Rose. She's one of my, of course, favorite characters, but
I love her too. I'm prejudiced, of course.
I can identify with her a lot. She's my kind of girl. Now, I love this so much, Verna, because fantasy often explores real human experiences through magical worlds. What real life themes do you enjoy exploring through fiction?
Well, through like loss, learning something, dealing with your fear, dealing with other people, learning patience, having determination, because we're often thrown into either at a job, or just thrown into a situation where you have to survive, like dealing with a jerk, like I showed in the second Rose Greenleaf novel, that one bard who ended up passing out at the most key times when the dark fae came to the ship. Yes, Rose isn't good enough, but you pass out and have a nervous breakdown. But just anything to do with normal life, troubles with relationships, troubles with your family, learning, adapting, just it all applies to any story, no matter what genre.
And I love that you say that, because my son here in Busan, I'm in Korea, he owns a English and Debate Academy. And so they base all their lessons around fiction and nonfiction books. And it helps them learn about life, because they identify with a character, and then they see, how they go, the character goes through the story plot, and how it has the rising action and the problems and the climax and then the resolution, right? And it gives them hope that, oh, well, if they can do it here, I can do it too, So it's so powerful.
And it doesn't have to be an epic, we must melt the ring in Mordor. Sometimes it's just dealing with the difficult person, your new in-law, having to, helping your friend and keeping secrets for them, and learning how to love, and knowing who to trust. These are things that are happening in every life, and dealing with that in a fantasy novel is just as important as coming up with cool dragons and scary changelings.
I absolutely agree. And as a child growing up, I was always reading books. My nose was always in a book, still is. And, when the grandparent would give me the ultimatum, inside or outside, I would pack a big thing of books and snacks, and I would go up to my tree and I would read for hours. It's like, where's Elizabeth? She's in a tree with her books. It was such a great escape, and it helped me cope with whatever was going on with my life then. So
reading is a salvation. And I remember watching a video many years ago about Ray Bradbury, and he grew up poor. He was in a rough part of LA. Their family moved them there from Illinois at a certain time when he was a kid. And he said and of course, he was at risk. He was just this little scrawny kid, but he found refuge in the library.
Yes.
You don't have to fall into the tropes of getting into a terrible situation with crime or whatever, he said the library was his salvation. He went there all the time. His parents couldn't afford college. They were poor, but he said he read everything in that library.
I love that, because I was not only did I volunteer in the libraries to repair the old book bindings. I love the smell of the books, and I would sit on the floor and just read for hours and just lose myself. So yeah, I still go to libraries. Even here in Korea, they do have an English section. I can
so
sit on the floor and read.
Libraries are so important. Not every kid is in a situation where they have books in the house. I've known a lot of people who grew up in households where there weren't any books in that house, or they can't afford books. Libraries are the key, not just to get more of an education, but find something you love. Sometimes finding that author that you love,
Yes.
and that style of genre. Once you hit your genre, this is good, and you just read. And reading opens the mind. It instills the imagination, which is why I always get so upset with education in this country. And I work in education. I work at a university as an admin assistant in communication and media, and there is just not enough going on to help kids. There needs to be more support for kids from grade school all the way up into college. Our educational system has been broken, and it needs to be fixed. And that's my soapbox. But
yeah, the No Child Left Behind left a lot of them behind.
Yeah, well, what's going on? Well, we won't get into the political.
That's a whole nother talk show, right?
A whole other video from which we may never recover.
For sure. So let me ask you this, Verna, for our listeners out there who are aspiring writers, what kind of advice would you give them for writing fantasy or dream of creating their own worlds? What kind of advice would you give them?
First, read, check out authors. And it doesn't matter if they're contemporary or from 100 years ago. Like, look at Edgar Rice Burroughs. There wouldn't be a Star Wars today without Edgar Rice Burroughs. I don't care what people say. It's because he was writing this stuff, The Princess of Mars and John Carter, in the 1800s.
Well,
I mean, most people don't know that things like War of the Worlds was actually set in the late, was it the early 1900s? I think it was 1900. Yeah, that's why there was such terror. They didn't have nuclear weapons in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But basically, my advice is read. Find something that look into history, look into philosophy. Just read, discover. If you don't like the book, put it down, pick up another. And that's what's great about libraries. You can do that at the library and it won't cost you a penny.
Exactly.
I have a wonderful home library, but people aren't always that lucky. And there are still things that are coming out with now that with the prices on everything, the library is a salvation. You can find out if something is good enough that you want to invest in.
Absolutely. And I think the power of libraries needs to come back into the world for sure. Because, we're so busy scrolling on our Instagram and this mindless stuff. And it's just crazy. We need to get back to simple. I think we were talking about that earlier.
Yes. Simple basics. I was on Instagram earlier today and someone talked about how, nobody wants to read anymore. It's just too hard to do. Really? Really? And it's like, I didn't even reply to this person. I was reading just a post that comments from about a different post, so I didn't get involved. I've learned that, people have no filter now on social media, so I just keep my head down. But really, it's like simple. Read, explore. You need to open up your mind. And I think people who are truly willing to open up their mind to read about other cultures, other religions, history, real history, not what's taught to us in school, because
that's another topic.
That's another topic, another video. But explore. You never know. You might find something great about ancient Egypt. Maybe you'll do a book on that, or the English Civil War with the Jacobites and Cromwell. It's you never know. Something I think like in this country, like during the Revolutionary period around the 1700s, that's prime, like writing a novel about dark magic and the Wood Witch and using Native American magic to combat evil. And there's all sorts. You just have to open up your mind.
Yes.
And as Ray Bradbury said, what if? It's just what you do after what if is going to depend on your imagination and your focus and your organization.
So he said it's what you do after what if?
That's me.
Oh.
What if is like the bouncing part. That's the jump off part. Once you do the what if, you need to follow through and come up with something.
Love it. Yeah, that's very true. So now that you've reached book 3, what are you most excited for the readers to explore and to discover?
I want them to enjoy the books. You see, that's the thing. I love reading, and I love it when I get a hold of a book that I enjoy. I just love it. There's just so much out there that's enjoyable, and I want whoever reads my stories, my tales, to love them, and I want them to enjoy them, and maybe leave a review on Amazon. That would be nice. But yeah, but no, enjoy the books, because if you can't enjoy the books, there's no point in reading.
Yeah.
And you've got to write good stuff. And there's a lot of bad stuff out there, both published through high-end as well as independent. It's just that it's not from where you come, whether you're a small publisher or a major, one of the big 5, or you're self-published. That doesn't matter. It's the quality of the work itself, and that is dependent on the writer. We are the burdens of our talent. Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. And I'm thinking about the series. So for you then, what has been the most rewarding part of bringing the series out into the world to the readers?
Well, it's like a nice sense of completion. It's like it's done its circle around the earth, and it's there, and everything is done. And yet it's still open enough to where if I wanted to go back and do a different series, like a different trilogy, I could if I had a decent enough idea, but I won't do that unless I do. It's like what we talked about early. Don't beat that story to the ground to where it doesn't matter anymore. You want to keep the stories and the characters beloved.
Absolutely. So here's some rapid fire questions for you. Favorite mythical creature?
Dragons. Sorry.
Gotta love it. What a fictional world you would love to visit?
Oh, fictional world I would love to visit. So many of them are scary and people don't realize that. I think one of mine would be nice.
Okay.
Let's go to this world. There's dragons and Rose Greenleaf.
So tell me, Verna, if you were to have one day, a date or a day outing with one of the characters from your series, who would it be and what would you do?
Oh, I think Rose Greenleaf and I would go have tea and cake somewhere, and we would just gossip. And she would sing and do her poetry, and we'd have fun.
What is the instrument that she's playing? Is it a mandolin?
A lute.
A lute. Of course. That would be
supposed to be a lute.
Very good.
Okay.
So is there
I would tell the publisher lute. So she can say anything.
So a character you want as your adventure partner to go on like road trips. Would it be Rose again, or is there another adventure partner?
There is a character in my first trilogy called Darkus. He's a soldier. He's the most loyal man you could ever meet. And he's not magical, but he's like the Sam Elliott of fantasy. He's just totally dependable, and he's cool, and he's brave.
Awesome.
And then there's Red Meg Sparrow. She would be fun to go out with and to travel.
That would be super cool. So what is your favorite part of writing fantasy?
Just using the imagination, but at the same time, making it make sense, making it real. It should be, when you watch, going back to a visual, when you watch something like Lord of the Rings, you feel that you're there. It's organic. It wasn't just a download of everything. You have you feel the world and everything is just earthy.
Yes.
And that's what I want for my stories.
You know, I love that. And when I was growing up, as you're saying that, I'm remembering I was a big Nancy Drew reader, and I I couldn't put her down, and I would be reading late at night, and my mother would holler to me, Elizabeth, turn the light off, put the book down. But I felt like I had to just finish this next page. I had to make sure she was in a safe place before I closed the book, and then I couldn't wait to, like, she was going to be there when I opened the book, you know? So does it feel that way to you when you're writing, like they're waiting for you to get back to finish them?
Yes, and they get very impatient if I stay away too long. They get miffed.
They get miffed. Are they in your dreams? Are you dreaming about them?
No, oddly enough, I have never dreamt about any of my characters or my stories. But sometimes I could be somewhere like in the grocery store, or I'll see something or a picture and something will spark an idea.
Yes. And you know, a lot of my characters in my books have the quirks of some of my family members or friends. Do you have any of the characters in your books that maybe emulate some of your husband's quirks or your children or yourself?
Nope. No, I don't use my poor husband as bait for that. Actually, no, I don't use anybody that I know, relative or friend or coworker, in my books. And really, like the witch in the Dragon Keepers and Bardess of Rhulon. Can you imagine her in in my world? I love her. Would you want to meet Queen Fiona?
Maybe it's good that she's in a book, but
she keep her in the book. But no, there's certain traits, of course, you apply. Like Queen Fiona she is the queen, and her husband, he appears very genteel and gives way, but actually when it comes time, he stands up. No, we're doing it my way. But you know, she is like, they're very much equal in many ways, and but she is like the fire and whereas he's more like water and earth, and he's easier to deal with, and he's the calm one, and she is not.
And she's not. So who is the best supporting character? I know that Rose has a husband, and he's probably obviously very supportive, because then instead of, like you said, just getting a divorce and just let's go our different ways, they're working through it. Who is another supportive character for them even?
Oh, for Rose and for Culain?
Yeah.
Well, Rose and for Culain, Red Meg Sparrow, and the giant. Gavin.
The giant, really?
Yeah, well, remember, Culain has known him for years. And Gavin is a very, very reliable person, and he is also in love with Meg, as we know. So, and there's stuff that goes on there, which in the third book, not that I'm breaking them up, but you know, there are some things that were going on that were beyond their control with their duties. Then there was a cross communication, and they resolve it.
And they resolve it. Who's the quirkiest character?
And they feel better.
Of course they do. Who's the quirkiest character?
The witch. The witch. What I am having, I swear I'm getting dementia, because I'm trying to remember her name, and it's just completely. I'm going to get my book. Hold on.
The witch.
The one who's been around from the beginning.
Because we all have those characters that are quirky, that are just so memorable, you know, that maybe they're twisting their hair all the time, or they sneeze when they're nervous or something like that. You know, they're always, there's somebody in our life that they can't escape your memory because they're so quirky.
But I think I have got so many characters that sometimes things just slip. But now,
do you devise, like in one of my books, I make a graph, like a hierarchy and a lineage, of the family lineage and everything, to keep track of the characters. Do you do something like that?
Yeah, I do. And some of them are separate because they were separate bloodlines. Mm-hmm. But people who end up together as friends.
Uh-huh.
Oh gosh, give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to have for 14 siblings and everything that's going on, there would have to be some kind of a plot map or, something just to keep track of them and where they're going, to keep it flowing in your book. That's what I think. And Verna has left the building.
No, my husband just called out Panthera, and I said, no, that's the bad girl from the my first trilogy.
The
Even
mean girls.
You can't keep track. I think it's because I've been so immersed with creating my new characters. I think I'm starting to forget things.
Are you detaching yourself from this previous trilogy and now you're stepping into identifying with the new characters in the new series, right?
Probably, yeah, because I start to get involved. Queen Gerza. I miss Queen Gerza. She was a cool goblin queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
Goblin queen. You gotta love a goblin queen, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking of goblin queens. It's kind of random, but I just read a new thing about goblin dating.
Goblin dating?
Yeah.
I've named my new newsletter the Book Goblin.
So
we have goblins on our mind.
We do, those little goblins. So that's so cool. So I'm thinking about Rose again because I identify a lot with Rose, and we were talking about how she just doesn't mind anything that her mother tells her. She wants to go do her thing and learn it on her own. And like I do that with my grandson, my 5-year-old grandson. Well, who is it?
Zula Rutu.
Oh, well, no wonder. That's Zula Rutu.
Yeah. She's the witch.
Gotcha.
Coming back to the first book. And she's also very key in the third book with the dragon stuff. So, and you know that if you read the second book, War Poet, she and Skullcap have a happy ending. So
Skullcap
Axton, he was in the first book.
Yes.
And remember, there was this whole story from the first book. When he met Rose after he rescued her, he and Megan the Rangers rescued Rose from the slave traders. And he has a bald head covered with blue tattoos. Ooh. And he said this witch, made my hair fall out. And it turned out that it was because he and Zula she caught him. He was drunk and some woman was basically climbing on top of him and she thought he was being unfaithful. And so she went home, got drunk and she cried. She said, I must have cast a spell because it made his hair fall out. But she has tried to undo it for years and she can't do it. And she said, it's probably the reason is because that penny a spell wizard that you hired for the tattoos. But and then they make up. But, it wasn't a mean curse. It was just, she was in love. She was drunk. She didn't have chocolate or Haagen-Dazs, so she cast a spell.
She didn't have Netflix. She could just binge watch,
No.
Well, don't you think she could cast a spell to regrow his hair too?
She's tried. And I was going to have a resolution, but no, let him just accept. He's not a handsome guy, but he's got a striking guy. He's tall and he has all the tattoos and he's a ranger, so he's pretty cool.
He sounds cool. So, random question: coffee, tea, or something magical?
Coffee.
Over magic? Really?
Oh, I didn't hear the magic part. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about what I deal with when I'm writing, which is usually tea or coffee. But if I could have magic, we would have a much better world right now.
Yeah, I want to be like, do you remember, was it Barbara Eden and on Bewitched, or was that what she did, the little...
I Dream of Genie. Bewitched was a witch. She was a genie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like to be able to think, or have a genie.
And you think of it as those shows is that there was never any real consequences to their stuff.
She could do no wrong. That's right. It just always worked out
Here's
well.
the master and the heroine went, well, what happens when she sends them away? Do they stop existing? Or do they go,
Good point.
there's a philosophical point here. The 60s
Well,
comedies.
exactly. That's so cool. So, one word you hope readers use to describe the Rogue Bardess series.
Amazing.
Perfect. I was going to say, it would be hard to summarize it in just one word, right?
I'll settle for amazing.
Very good. So, Verna, is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with today?
Yes, support your libraries, support the author, and if you buy a book, please leave a review on Amazon, because the cruelty of the algorithms are insane. So we need all the help we can get. But word of mouth, share if you like a book, because I do that too sometimes. If this book is great, here, I'm going to start doing that more in my newsletter, and I'm going to start taking out the classics, I think we need to go back to basics with fantasy and science fiction.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Let's get back to our imaginations and reading more, please. And supporting our authors and leaving those reviews is so important, because I don't think a lot of people realize as an author that marketing, is something that we have to do, and it's not done for us. And those reviews help move us up and get the book seen more. So please, please pick up a copy, read it, leave a review, and support your authors. Absolutely.
Yes, we live the hard knock life.
Yes, absolutely.
Without the annoying musical.
But keep writing.
Right.
Verna, thank you so much for returning to Gimme 5 book reviews and author interviews and sharing another chapter of your incredible writing journey. It has been wonderful following the Rogue Bardess series, from Bardess of Rhulon to the War Poet, and now to the Dragon Keepers. Thank you for taking us behind the scenes of your imagination, which is very, very cool, and the world that you have created through these fantasy books and for our fantasy readers. For everyone watching, if you love fantasy, adventure, magical worlds, unforgettable characters, and discovering new authors, please be sure to check out Verna McKinnon's The Rogue Bardess series. If you enjoyed this interview, please like, subscribe, and share, and support authors and readers everywhere. I will have all of Verna's information in the description box below. And as always, keep reading, keep discovering new worlds, and we'll see you on the next time on Gimme 5 book reviews and author interviews. Verna, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ellie. It's been, hopefully I'll have another book for us to talk about soon.
And I look forward to the next series. So I'm going to go dive back into this one and get on the Dragon Keepers for book number 3.
Thank you. Let me know. Send me, drop me an email.
I sure will. Take care, Verna. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.